Hudson was this incredible example of what it means to lead with entrepreneurship and to lead with like entrepreneurial courage, leaving a full-time job, leaving a comfort zone opportunity, and really kind of going like all in on what he had a sense of calling and vision for. And what he named his co-work space, he has both a recruiting company named Hire, and then he has a co-work space named The Arena, which is kind of a new budding opportunity that's still developing. And he's still kind of trying to find product market fit. But the idea of The Arena came from the quote from the man in The Arena, where it's like, it's not the critic who counts, blah, 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 blah. Go Google that. It's super awesome. I have a picture in my office at home. But basically what it comes down to is this: what do you use to evaluate your performance? Do you leverage other people's perspective? Do you leverage a scoreboard that's nebulous and not very well identified? I would suggest, and I think that Brock, if he were with me right now, would agree, that the first thing that we measure as it relates to our performance is not what someone else says. It isn't even necessarily what the scoreboard says, because performance happens on a continuum. Go back to our episode with Josiah Ugono. He's the founder of All Things Performance. He wrote a book. He says that performance happens on a continuum, right? That our effort does not necessarily mean we're going to have a winning outcome. And so when we recognize that, we can have healthy perfectionism. We can have healthy high performance, because we recognize that we cannot control the outcome of every game, right? So we're not looking always at the scoreboard. We're not looking always at what other people are saying. We're looking first primarily at, did I perform at my highest ability relative to the circumstances that I found myself in, relative to my competitors, relative to the situation? And when we do that, that sets us in the proper context to then measure the results, right? Then we go to the scoreboard. Then we look at the game footage. Then we start to look at what others are saying about the performance, what they see, what they didn't see. And we have to ask who we care more about pleasing, right? Do we care more about pleasing the critics, right? The people who are watching, or do we care more about pleasing our own best effort in any given situation? And then I would say another question is this: how do we respond when we lose or fail? Because loss and failure should be oriented towards learning, not just oriented towards winning, right? Not just oriented towards success or achievement. What we want to understand is that when we lose or fail, we have an opportunity to learn what works, what doesn't work. We're putting data points up on our board for future learning and growth. And that in and of itself is a form of a win. So I'm not suggesting that like we should all get a trophy, or that we should call every loss a win, that we shouldn't be honest with ourselves about where our performance was weak, or where perhaps like we didn't practice or train enough or recover well. Now, to the contrary, I'm suggesting that we should have integrity, and that we should recognize that when we've done our best, that's the first and most important thing to recognize. And then after that, we look at the broader context, the situation, the points on the board, etc. So Hudson ends up being this incredible example of doing just that, like really, really going for it, putting forth a courageous and as well as confident effort in entrepreneurialism. And also, I'd like to add one other note here that really stuck out to me, which is community. He's recognizing that the arena is not just about my own performance, but it's also about the other men and women in the arena with me, right? It's about what we're doing together, in that we can perform as a group and not just as individuals. We can be ambitious in trying to achieve certain things in our work as leaders, but we don't have to do that alone. And I think oftentimes That's probably a rookie mistake, especially emerging leaders make. They think that, I have to do this on my own, whatever that may be. And they don't leverage relationships in a way that's healthy and smart and ultimately much more sustainable. And so Brock's a great example of someone who is trying to build community around his work in order that everyone engaged would flourish and would achieve more together.